when you're doing deals as a land flipper in multiple states and you've got one LLC registered in one state, at what point are you considered doing business in these other states? Is it when I buy just one single property there? Is it when I buy 5 properties? When I have employees there? When I generate a certain amount of money? What's the cutoff point where I need to say, okay, I'm now doing business in this state?
Wonder if you're the one that posted that question on my YouTube channel this weekend, because I actually got that in one of my videos on land. Somebody wanting to know when you have to register in multiple states. And the thing about land is that if you own land and nothing more, it does not constitute doing business in that state. So you're able to hold that one entity. Let's say you set up a Wyoming, Delaware entity, and you're going to flip some properties in New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, and you buy a lot here and there. You don't need to register. However, now where you would need to register is going to be in those situations where you intend to actively target a specific state. So if I decided that I'm going to focus strictly on New Mexico and I'm flipping properties left and right, well, then it's going to rise to the level of a trader business. And now you're going to need to foreign file in that state. Gotcha. But I might recommend if you're engaging in multiple flips in one particular jurisdiction, and maybe you've grown your business now where you have 2 or 3 different states you're targeting, that might be a good scenario where you set up an LLC in that particular state just for those deals. So I would create a New Mexico LLC and have it owned 100% by my parent company. And then I would have a Texas LLC owned 100% by my parent company. So as your business expands and you start to do more, then you would look at tiering some structures, layering some entities on top of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So on that, at what point is it intent? Like, is it, okay, so if I send direct mail campaign to New Mexico, that officially qualifies as an, even if I'm buying one property there, like I meant to do that. It wasn't just something that fell into my lap. Like, is that the threshold at which you're doing business?
No, see, that's just buying. It's in after you bought it, what are you doing with it?
Like in terms of the timeline at which you plan to sell it, or?
You want to sell it right away, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you can. So you do one isolated transaction. I don't think that's not going to rise to the level of a trader business, but it's a facts and circumstances test. So if it can be shown that you've engaged in multiple deals and you've been actively advertising in that state, then it takes on the semblance of a trader business. But what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, if I have an entity that was set up in Delaware and it's a corporation and I buy property in New Mexico and I flip 8 properties this year and I don't register, what's the penalty? Well, there is no penalty as long as you don't have to start a lawsuit. So why registering is so important? Because they're still going to withhold taxes. I just sold a property in California 2 weeks ago and they withheld taxes because it wasn't in a California LLC. It was held in a Wyoming LLC. And where the issue comes in is, let's assume that you sold the property and the buyer defaults on the sale. And so you go after the buyer, you could get bounced out of court. They would say that you cannot bring a claim to enforce that contract because you were not registered at the time to conduct business in this state. Therefore, you lose the ability to prosecute an action. Or if you're rehabbing property and your contractor stiffs you, charges you, says the work was done and was not completed, and you weren't registered, then if you sued the contractor, his defense would be, he's not registered to do business here. He cannot bring this claim against me. He's an outlaw. The remedy for you then would be to register your entity and get it compliant at that point in time and hope the claim will still survive.